Yo, Rob Star Gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. Hold on 1 second. Let me fix this. Yeah, let me fix it. Let me fix it. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. I don't know what's going on. What up? What up? Shout out to all you guys in the chat. Mr. Hunky Dory with a $2 donation. Shout out to you already. We got 29 people in here already watching. Make sure you do me a favor. Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you click that post notifications bell. Carolina Panthers stun the Falcons in an overtime fashion, and we're moving up in the world, man. I think we're moving up in the world with the mic. We got a new mic. So we're working with a new mic. Anyways, it's a better mic than what I had before. So shout out to Mr. Hunky Dory with that $2 donation. Shout out to all you guys in the chat, man. Appreciate everyone. I'm fired up. I'm fired. I'm not, I think there's like a mixed bag here, probably with feelings when it comes to this game. Congrats with the mic, Clay. Yeah, this is the Shuri mic. We're trying something new. But we at least the division due to tiebreaker Saints we ain't last in division due to tiebreakers. The Saints we are third. I think we finished last, if I'm not mistaken. Moving up or down in the draft to Rip Abdul. It all depends. There's multitude of things of how this is going to go when we look into the draft, right? That's how, I mean, when we talk about the draft order, you know what I mean? I mean, my goodness, where do I start with this game, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, Dave Canales obviously makes it perfectly clear. Dave Canales makes it perfectly clear, ladies and gentlemen, that Bryce Young is the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers' future, I think, after what I saw today. I want to be clear on that, first off. Second of all, another thing I want to talk about tonight is I want to break down Bryce Young's performance. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about how it was such a good game, man. I didn't expect it to be this. I thought we were outmatched in this game defensively. And I thought offensively we were outmatched defensively. And honestly, our offense stepped up. And you know what? My keys to victory came to fruition, man. Now, the run game, we didn't stop. The pass, but you did, you put it in the hands of Michael Penix. They did that. They did multitude of things that I was appreciative. But the defense, my God, man, where do I even start with this defense? Where do I even start with this defense, man? Because when we talk about this defense, right, it's tough. I think that's the first thing I want to talk about tonight is this defense, because it's tough. Now, Carolina is now known, had the worst defense in NFL history. That's where I get that we won this game. What's up, Raw Walk? What's up, everyone in the chat, man? Shout out to all you guys watching, man. We got a nice crowd in here. We got over 36 people watching. Man, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. But man, it's crazy to me that we won this game, but we finished 5-12 on the year. 3 more wins than we had last year, but still finished with the worst defense in the league. And I'm going to get to you guys' comments. Y'all are going off in the chat. Keep it coming, man. And make sure you get the likes up. I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to hit all y'all with, you know what? I'm going to hit you guys with this. Where is it? I'm going to hit it y'all with. There it is. I'm going to hit everyone with y'all like this. I'm going to hit every one of y'all with that. So shout out to everyone in the chat. But I'm going to get to you guys' comments here shortly. Man. I see y'all going off in the chat, man. And I appreciate everyone here. But I do want to talk about this defense. That's the first thing I'm going to talk about. And then we'll break the game down. I will give you my thoughts on the game. But I have to give you my thoughts on this damn game, man, because I have to give you my thoughts on this damn defense because we finished last. Right? We finished with the worst defense in NFL history. 5-12 record. And I think we finished last in the division. I have to double check that. I've been told that we finished third, but I'm not so sure that's the case. But I'm pretty sure I thought we finished dead last in the division this year. But apparently we finished third because of the tiebreaker. So I think someone needs to double check on that for me. I don't have it off the top of my head right now. But I mean, Neo Shadow Wolf, what do you talk about? Another close overtime game. He should have never allowed it to get to overtime. Who shouldn't allowed it? Because if you're talking about Bryce Young, how about you talk about the worst defense in NFL history? And Neo Shadow Wolf, you cannot expect Bryce Young to have 5 total touchdowns in a game. It just that ain't gonna happen. Now, should he have a game or two, maybe a game a year where he has 5 touchdowns, and maybe a couple games where he has 4 touchdowns, or 2 or 3 games where he has 4 touchdowns, something like that. Like, no one's going out here and throwing, getting 5 touchdowns a game. Patrick Mahomes is not going out here and having 5 touchdown games every single game. The expectations for Bryce Young should be high going next year, respectfully. Should be high next year for him. Sure, I'll agree to that, but we cannot hold him to a standard of the fact that he needs to go out there every single game and throw and have 5 touchdown games. That's just not realistic. Even Joe Burrow right now, who is the MVP of the NFL, who is my MVP, if I'm picking an MVP for the NFL right now, is not going out here and having 5 touchdowns 5 touchdowns a game. But let's talk about the worst defense in the NFL. I've been trying to get to this. I've been seeing y'all's comments. So I want to talk about this defense, man. This defense. Golly, worst defense in the NFL history. I never thought I would see the day as a Carolina Panthers fan and have the worst defense in history, which is one of the things that this Carolina Panthers team has been known for. We're in the history books for all the wrong reasons, ladies and gentlemen, after a disastrous performance in Week 18. Yes, we won the game, but this defense it's still an absolute disaster. You allowed 5 touchdowns and a field goal. The defense has set a new standard for failure with 534 points and counting. Given this defense is not just bad, it is without a doubt the worst in the entire history of the National Football League. This season, one that's been more full of turns and crashes than the Blue Ridge Parkway has been defined by one constant. And what is that constant? The catastrophic, and I'm done with this, man. Get the son of a bitch off the field, fire his ass, and get moved on. This is the reason why I say there's a difference between the average Joes and then the men amongst men. Ejiro Evero, as a defensive coordinator, is an average Joe. Today was the nail in the coffin for me. When you go down as the NFL's worst defense in NFL history, given the fact, yes, that this defense was depleted with injuries, fair. You lost Brian Burns, you lost Frankie Louvu, you lost Jeremy Chin. The only person that I was upset losing was actually two guys. I was actually upset losing Jeremy Chin because I know what kind of talent he is. Frankie Louvu was a bigger loss than Brian Burns was. Let's be honest. Hassan Reddick was a bigger disaster losing him than Brian Burns was. But the catastrophic of the incompetence of defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero's unit, no matter what else changed, that defense has been consistently awful, and it's only gotten worse as the season went on. And you can't tell me otherwise. You can't tell me otherwise, ladies and gentlemen. The downhill spiral obviously began for this defense to become the worst defense in the NFL. It was apparent from the very start that this defense was doomed. In week 1, they gave up 47 points to Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. That's not just bad, that's catastrophic. It set the tone for what was to come, a team that simply couldn't stop anyone. And then it got even worse in week 7 when you had Marcus Mariota looking like Patrick Mahomes out there. The Washington Commanders torched us for 40 points. And here's the kicker. Rookie quarterback Jane Daniels, who many had pegged as the front runner for the Rookie of the Year, wasn't even playing. That's right. Even when the opposition's best weapon sitting on the bench, Carolina couldn't get their shit together. But wait, it gets even more humiliating. Week 17, the Panthers somehow find a way to let Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers drop 48 points on them, setting a new franchise record for time of possession allowed in a single game. Not only did they give up nearly 50 points in that game, ladies and gentlemen, but they also couldn't get the ball back to save their lives, which is just pathetic. Injuries. That's a convenient excuse that everybody loves to use, but that's not the whole story. Of course, like any bad team, injuries are always brought up as the scapegoat. And yes, the Panthers have been hit hard. Losing Derek Brown in week 1 to a knee injury was just the start. The team has been without Shaq Thompson, Josie Jewell, DJ Wanum, Trevin Wallace, J.C. Horn for significant stretches of the season. Let's be clear. Injuries are only part of the problem. That's certainly a factor, but they don't expect everything. The real issue lies with Ejiro Evero's defensive schemes, specifically that 3-4 system he's been stubbornly clinging to. The system hasn't worked, and it's been a failure all season long. And the Panthers have boasted the worst rushing defense in the league And that is not an exaggeration. Opposing teams have been able to run all over Carolina with no resistance. Take an example for today, Bijan Robinson, who's an all-pro, in my opinion, who got snubbed, I think, from the Pro Bowl, racked up 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another career day handed out by the Panthers defense. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. Sorry, Clay, for expecting more from a quarterback with 6 wins. 20 and 20 something losses, had 5 touchdowns. So until he can consistently play close to this game every game next season, I want better for him. Hey, Neo Shadow Wolf, that's fine. I shouldn't want you to think that he has to come out here and have 5 touchdown games a game. Okay. I just don't want people to have those expectations, but I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion. Jeremiah just got the axe already. Wow. Which means they might be going Mike Vrabel. I mean, Mike Vrabel's name's getting thrown around. Rex Ryan's name's getting thrown around. Robert Saleh's name's still getting thrown around. Robert Rivera's name's getting thrown around. A lot of guys. Rodgers just passed for number 500. Did he just pass for 500 yards? What do you mean? What are y'all telling me right now? What are you telling me? He threw for 500 yards today? Or he just threw for a past 500 yards? But back to this defense, man. The ugly truth about this whole thing, though, is it was a total collapse. And you can't sugarcoat this because the Panthers, 500 touchdown. Okay. But the Panthers defense, man, has been a dumpster fire from start to finish. Whether it was this putrid rush defense, the inability to stop any quarterback from having a career day, or the complete collapse in the red zone. This unit couldn't do anything right. Evero's defense has been utterly helpless week after week against every type of offense thrown at him. The worst part is it doesn't seem like there's any real fix in sight. Sure, we're getting some players return from injury. But even if Derek Brown and Shaq Thompson and other come back full strength, I feel like it's hard for me to see this defense suddenly just turn it around. I mean, the fundamental issues with this scheme and execution are deeply embedded. There is no magic fix for that. I've always said that he runs too complex of a 3-4 scheme. You have to have a true nose tackle, and you have to have elite pass rushers. And it's starting to come to fruition. You don't have either one. So you could also make the argument there. I mean, I tried to give Evero the benefit of the doubt, ladies and gentlemen. At first, I was hard on him. But then I kind of took a step back, looked at myself in the mirror, looked at this roster, and it's hard to put a positive spin on what we've witnessed, though, this season. Like, the Panthers have set a new low for defensive ineptitude. And that's a hard pill for me to swallow. This defense has failed on nearly every level, from tackling to coverage to simply getting off the field. It's been a complete disaster. And maybe, just maybe, this is the rock bottom that this team needs, right? There's nowhere to go but up from here, right? Like, this Panthers defense will need a full overhaul, right? And a full overhaul in this offseason. You start with firing Ejiro Evero, complete reevaluate this defense, revelation of this defensive strategy. Anything less would be irresponsible for this team going into next season. The season's over, but the Panthers are left to lick their wounds, man. I just hope that they figure out how to actually stop someone next year from this defense, because frankly, they couldn't stop a nosebleed this season. Oh, Randall Griffin, I got hope. It's not that I don't have hope, my guy. It has nothing to do that I don't have hope. Okay, I want to be clear on that. There is no. I have hope. Okay, I have hope, but this defense has to be reevaluated and completely redone. It has to. It has to be completely reevaluated and completely redone from top to bottom. From top to bottom. So it's not that I don't have hope, Randall, going into this offseason and things I got look forward to for the first time in a while. I totally agree with that. I definitely have some things to look forward to in this offseason. I'm glad it's the offseason. I'm ready to give y'all some great draft content, some great draft analysis. We're going to be breaking down free agents. Yeah, we're going to be going to work this offseason, Randall Griffin. The Ropp Star Report here and now is going to be doing off-season content week in and week out. You're going to have videos. You're going to have live streams. You're going to have the shorts. You're going to have it all. Completely every single day of the week. All right? So you're going to have something. I'm going to be breaking down the drafts. We're going to be looking at off-season free agents. Trust me, I'm going to be in my bag this offseason. It could be tomorrow, Zach. I mean, Ejiro could get fired tomorrow. All right? He could get fired tomorrow. Let's break this game down, man. Let's break this game down. And then we'll get into some individual performances and then stuff like that. The biggest thing I wanted to see was Bryce progression, mission accomplished, right? You got that at least. You got that at least. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, man, we won. We just fucked up our draft stock, blah, 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 blah. There's more to it than that, man. There is more to it than just wins and losses and draft stock. You got 9 draft picks. There's no reason why this team shouldn't have it. I'm going to start a poll question with you guys. I'm kind of interested to see where your mindset is at for this. I'm kind of interested to see where the chat's mindset's at about all this. Hold on, I'm going to back it up a little bit. So we got some stats up here. Interviews are going to be interesting. Definitely going to be interesting who they interview. I'm interested to see who they interview. I just don't know who they're going to interview. Let's see here. I'm going to put a poll question. I'm interested to see how this poll question turns out. I think I kind of already did this one before, but it's always interesting. I'm interested to see. I think I spelled that right. I spelled it right, I think. I put an I in there. I don't know if Mike Vrabel is a DC guy we could look at. I don't know if Mike Vrabel is a guy we could look at, possibly. But they definitely need to get Rivera, Vabril, Sala on the phone. Definitely need to get him back for sure. Get him on the phone at least. Or I wonder if they stick around with it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna put this poll up. I'm interested to see who y'all go with. I'm interested to see what this chat poll looks like after we're done. I'm also interested to see what some of these Bryce haters are gonna say after this game. I'm just interested. That's all. Hold on. I'm gonna edit this real quick. That does not work. I do not like that. But I do like this all the way here. I do like that all the way there. All right, hit save. Update layout. There we go. All right, perfect. That's better. All right, so let's get into this. Don Martindale. Zach says Don Wink Martindale. Interesting. All right, let's break this down real quick. I'll just say this, and we'll talk about individual performances, but I want to go by quarter here. So let's get to the scoring drive summary here. I think that's the play-by-play, right? Score summary. No, not all the plays. Let's go by score summary. This is what I like to use. So the first quarter, all right. I'll say this. You had a rocky start, but it was a strong finish in the first quarter, right? You won the toss. Smartly, you deferred to the second half. You letting the Falcons take the ball first. Atlanta immediately leaned into their ground game with some solid runs in this game. They were picking up a few first downs. Rookie quarterback Michael Penix mixed in some good throws. He was having connection with his receivers, decent gains. But the drive ultimately stalled, capped off by a drop pass, allowing kicker Riley Patterson to barely squeeze in a field goal. Panthers' first drive was a mess from the start. Bryce Young hit Xavier Legette on a crosser, but the receiver immediately hit hard. Xavier Legette on that crosser, limped off the field. What looked like a bruised tailbone. Then on the next play, you got Miles who slipped on a run, barely gaining 2 yards. And then the offense managed to get moving with ridiculous one-handed catch by Adam Thielen on the sideline, followed by that trick play we saw with Jalen Coker, tossed the pass to Sanders for another gain. But the drive stalled out in field goal range. Pinheiro managed to knock the attempt through, and then the Falcons, the next possession in that first quarter, the Panthers defense actually stepped up at that point, making every inch a struggle for Penix and company. And then you think about it this way: short, ineffective runs, drop passes from Atlanta, had them facing a 4th and 4. The Panthers pass rush brought the heat to force an incompletion. Then the first quarter ended with the Panthers facing a 3rd down at middle of the field. But the momentum was definitely shifting their way. Now, the second quarter, if we look at the second quarter here, this was an exciting quarter. They kicked off with a bang, man. You know, Mike Boone had a decent run on a 3rd down. Legette, back from his early injury, broke a nasty juke to shake A.J. Terrell off for a 1st down. Then the Panthers kept pushing, getting inside the Falcons' 10-yard line on that drive where Young threw an absolute dart to Legette, who made a spectacular catch, followed by Young slipping through a couple of arm tackles to score. You had the Falcons then, which they responded quickly. I was so surprised by that because Drake London made a tough 24-yard grab after the two Panthers defenders collided. Bijan Robinson bulldozed his way to another solid game. Penix took advantage of some missed tackles, extended the play, running it in himself, tied the game at that point. But then Bryce wasn't done. That was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing I took from Bryce was how he responded, right? You get that solid catch from Felipe Franks, which I think was his first catch in his NFL career. Then you get that nice 27-yard run by Raheem Blackshear. Young hit Sanders. Then for that 33-yard touchdown. By the way, an absolute beautiful floating ball over the back. I think it looked like a floater off the back front side shoulder. But if I remember that play correctly, I have to go back and watch it. But beautiful thrown ball, 33-yard touchdown, put us up again. Atlanta was going to lay but Atlanta wasn't going to lay down, of course, right? You got playoff implications. They marched down the field with some great quick passes from Penix, another big run from Robinson, who eventually punched it in to tie the game again. And then the Panthers offense sputtered. They were forced to punt, giving the Falcons one last chance. Penix and London connected for 20 yards, and the Falcons were suddenly in a 2-minute drill. And then on second down, Penix got away from what would have been a sack, what would be a sack by Jadeveon Clowney, who whiffed as Penix ducked on the next play. Penix launched a 42-yard bomb to Ray McLeod, and then 2 more failed attempts. London set up a touchdown. I mean, he exposed Bartholomew not once, but twice in that situation. And the Falcons took that 24-17 lead, as you see there, to end the second, to go into the half. So, so then we get into the third quarter. And this is where Carolina shined the most. This is where they responded the biggest for me. That was the biggest takeaway I took from them is that's how they responded. They responded right off the rip. And I mean, and I'll have to say this too. Special teams in this game also was a huge factor. But you think about it this way, that second half started off, if you remember correctly, right? Running their usual bullshit bubble screens, what didn't amount much. They were forced to punt, got a lucky bounce, pinned the Falcons deep at their own 10-yard line. Then a disaster for Atlantic. Penix throws this low ball, Raymond McLeod, while under pressure. Cloud bobbles it into the air. An easy interception for Mike Jackson. Good for Mike Jackson to make a play there. Young wasting no time. Find Tommy Tremble with the no-look pass. Wide open in the middle of the end zone. Game-tying touchdown. That was huge on how he responded there. Then you got to think about Atlanta. Atlanta responded with some running from Tyler Algier. Get into our territory. Fortunately for us, Clowney redeemed himself. Big sack on third down. Falcons kicker misses that 53-yard field goal attempt. Bryce Young went back to work again, scrambling for a first down, hitting Jalen Coker on a crossing route. A couple solid runs by Sanders, set the Panthers up inside the 10, found David Moore on a quick slant, touchdown, 31-24 lead in the third quarter as time expired. The fourth quarter was a lot of penalties, and I want to say a lot of penalties and a lot of explosive plays. All right. The final, because you think about it, the fourth quarter began, lots of mistakes happening on both sides of the ball. The Falcons game came to life, right? The ground game came to life for them again. A holding penalty stalled them their drive. Tyler ran like a man on the mission, picked up extra yards. Then they had that crucial 4th and 1 conversion, and then the Panthers defense held their ground, forcing the Falcons into a 3rd and 20. Penix tried a bullet to Drake London, who somehow beat Shamar. On that play, I was surprised Shamar Bartholomew didn't intercept that. But Drake London beat him. I mean, plain and simple, for that touchdown to tie the game. I thought Bartholomew had good coverage, but I guess I was wrong on that play when I was watching it. But then on the ensuing possession, The Panthers moved the ball well, despite a disaster on the double pass play we saw with Adam Thielen. And wow, I mean, Adam Thielen got blasted while throwing a pass, trying to get it to David Moore. Then David Moore got flagged for that push up on the face mask. But the thing is that Young just didn't get rattled. He stayed in the moment, right? And hit Jadavion Sanders on a perfectly paced 28-yard gain. A few plays later, Young, and I told y'all that they needed to get the tight ends involved, and you saw Trimble get involved. You saw Sanders get involved. And I was like, man, I was right on that. So, but the thing is Young took matters in his own hands, right? He escaped the pocket for a 10-yard rushing touchdown, puts us back on top at 38-31. The Falcons came charging back. Robinson picked up another 20 yards and just a couple of carries. And then when Penix started targeting London again, they set up a game-tying touchdown and that, running for Robinson. There was only like 46 seconds left, I think, on the clock. There was no timeouts left. We ran an abysmal 3-play, 0-yard series. I was so pissed off at that point. I was like, oh, God, here we go. We're going to go into overtime. We had to punt. A clutch punt from Johnny Hecker. Pinned them deep in their territory. Penalty on the return team. And then you're staring at they're starting at the 12-yard line and with nothing left to lose, right? And the Falcons decided to take the game to overtime. So, again, Bryce Young under pressure this time. You're going into overtime. We won the coin toss on overtime with the ball in our hands, and Young didn't disappoint. Miles Sanders picks up that first down. Young found Trimble again to move the ball into the middle of the field from there. It was all Bryce Young. He hit Coker 3 straight times, including a gorgeous backhand flip that looked straight out of Mahomes' highlight reel. A last-ditch effort by Caden Ellis stopped Coker just shy of the end zone, and then it didn't even matter after that. Sanders punched it in, game-winning touchdown. We walk off 48-38. All right. Here is my thoughts on the game in general after I just broke all that down for you guys is this. That this wasn't just a win. I need to make that clear. I know I started off talking about the defense, started talking about being negative and being one of the worst defenses in NFL history, because we are now. It's written in the books. But this wasn't just a win. It was a statement. Like, Bryce Young, this game, had his best game as a Panther by far, throwing 3 touchdowns, running 2 more. He spread the ball around like a seasoned pro should. He connected with nine different receivers. The Panthers have finally something to feel good about, just like Randall Griffin was trying to tell me earlier. And I know that. We have something to feel good about as we head into this offseason. Miles Sanders, who's been a non-factor most of the year, came through in this game and in clutch time. You scored the game-winning touchdown on what might very well be his last play as a Panther. It wasn't perfect, but it was a damn good finish. The defense, again, they were awful. There's no doubt about that. With the roster in shambles, no real talent left, it's hard to judge them. But the Panthers have a decent amount of cap space, a top 8 draft pick. If they play their cards right, again, they definitely can turn this thing around. For now, we can't say this. Like, the Panthers finally have hope. And that's a damn good feeling. It's a damn good feeling. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Do me a favor. Make sure you smash that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss any new content. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm going to do a major giveaway. We got to hit this goal, man. We got to hit this goal. All right. So we broke the game down from front to back, scoring drives and everything. We talked about the defense. Let's see what else. Let's talk about Bryce Young now. I mean, I know that's the next thing that we want to talk about. We just need to talk about Bryce Young and his performance in this game. If I can bring it up. Oh, there's his stats for this game right here. 25 of 34, 73.5 completion percentage, 7.4 yards on average, had 123.5 rating, long 33. He had that was I'm pretty sure that was the Miles Sanders pass, 33 yards. So, let's be real. Bryce Young isn't going anywhere. He's not. He's not going anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at Bryce Young, for me, it took me a while to figure out if I thought this kid was QB1 or not. I said that I would give him, the benefit of a doubt from last year, getting sacked 62 times, receivers having one of the worst separation. Also, Adam Thielen being a 34-year-old wide receiver one. But the kid is QB1 for the Carolina Panthers in 2025, and that's final. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe in him or not, well, he's still going to be here next year, right? Now, I didn't say if I believed in that he's our quarterback of the future, but it's sure as hell starting to look like it, and he's starting to make me more of a believer the more I watch him. Because you could even go back to last week's game and say that wasn't Bryce Young's fault. You got to look at Bryce Young's stats: over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. He was doing everything he could. There was no run game. The defense couldn't stop him. So, how was that on Bryce? So for me, it was a stunning 5 touchdown performance, really, to close out what has been a miserable season. Let's be honest. Any lingering doubts about Bryce Young's ability to lead this team, you could make the case that they could be put to bed. And don't even try to, and you really can't even argue about it, because Bryce is here to stay, whether you like it or not. The following electrifying display in the season finale, Panthers head coach Dave Canales made it crystal clear, that Bryce Young is the guy moving forward. That's not just some nice post-game fluff I'm giving you here. Canales didn't beat around the bush when he declared Bryce Young as our quarterback. And he said it this time. It wasn't just lip service or a half-heart proclamation. It was the truth. Now, it hasn't always been this straightforward. We can say that because there was that time earlier in the season with those very words, Bryce is our quarterback. But when you saw it at the podium, it didn't exactly inspire confidence. After the first 2 weeks of this season, it didn't really inspire confidence. So to say the least, hell, it felt more like a last-ditch attempt to save face after a brutal week 2 drumming at the hands of the Los Angeles Chargers. Young threw up a mind-boggling stat line of 18 completions, 26 attempts, pathetic 84 yards, and an interception. And you think about it, to make matters worse, the performance set off a chain reaction that ended Canales publicly flipping the script less than 48 hours, declaring Andy Dalton gives this team the best chance to win. You all remember that? Y'all remember that? Because The moment that the Panthers quarterback got yanked for the season vet, Andy Dalton, and boy, did things go south from there. But here's the kicker. Young wasn't out for long. The football gods seemed to have other plans when Dalton got into a car accident and sprained his thumb, forcing him to sit out the game in Denver. And then Young got his shot again. And ever since that day, let's just say Bryce Young hasn't looked back. Not for a second, if you think about it. The turning point for me came when Young's, and I'm going to call it what it is, fuck you to all the doubters. That's what it was. A statement game. This was the turning point for me today. It was a statement game that put any remaining question marks about his potential to rest. 5 touchdowns and a total control of the game when your defense gave up how many yards? That is a performance that puts him on a new level. You have to acknowledge that. The kid is performing at a level. He's elevating his teammates around him. 9 different receivers. You can't say that. You can't say nothing about that. If anyone still had doubts about his future in Carolina, I think you have to put him in the past. I think, yes, going into next year, there should be a standard for him to perform week in and week out that we've seen basically from week 8 to now, besides the Dallas game. But from week 8 to now, besides the Dallas game, you can't deny it. You have to think about this. You're heading into this offseason now. You got Canales and you got your Dan Morgan as your GM, who have locked in key pieces to a team. You have Bryce Young as the face of your franchise. You got an offensive line that's getting some much needed stability that you're seeing with everybody. These 2 positions are the foundation, if you think about it. And there's now little room for debate about where we stand, at least offensively, going forward. There definitely could be some help. You definitely need to get Bryce a true number 1. I think adding more depth to the offensive line is never a terrible idea. I'm always all about building the trenches, right? Right? But Canales was brought in by David Tepper, okay, to turn this dumpster fire around. A guy who's a first-time ever head coach, was just a first-time play caller down in Tampa Bay, to reestablish some sense of pride on Mint Street. On Mint Street. He's done that big time. He squeezed every last drop of potential out of Baker Mayfield. Every last drop out of Geno Smith in his previous roles. And now he's pulling some magic out of Bryce Young. And so let's face it, Panthers haven't had this level of hope in a long time. You got a hungry first-time head coach, a young quarterback who just proved he can hang with the big boys. I think the expectations for 2025 are going to be sky high. And honestly, that's what exactly this team needs. The Panthers are finally on the right track with a quarterback who's got the chops to lead them back to relevance. I think the next few years could vary. And keyword here, ladies and gentlemen, before someone clips this, whatever the case, keyword here is could. So the next few years could very well be the dawn of something exciting in Charlotte. Could. But let's get into his performance as in general. I want to say this in this game. And then also, by the way, shout out to all you guys in the chat. I see every single one of you guys. We've got a live goal up as of right now. We've got 20 super chats for a major giveaway for the off season. Okay. We got a timer on it for the next 19 minutes. I see the poll up, and we've got over 20 votes in the last 25 minutes. We only have 20 likes, so make sure we get those likes up. But we got 20 votes for Robert Saleh. Interesting. How many likes we got? We got 21 likes, and we got 20 votes. We definitely got 21 votes, 21 likes. Get those likes up, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. All right. So back to Bryce Young's performance, though. I'll be honest, man. His decisiveness was something I saw in this game. Like, he's finally thinking fast, acting fast. Before his benching early in the season, Young wasn't hesitant as hell. He was slow to process, doubting himself, and you could see it on the field. But that is no longer the case, man. Like, you fast forward to now. You fast forward to week 18, right? Young is making decisions in a heartbeat, whether he's firing a laser downfield, using his legs when things break down. The man's confidence is undeniable, right? But this is the kind of growth that is massive. When you see him out there, no longer second guessing himself on each throw, it's clear he's becoming more comfortable with every snap. It's been a long road to this point, but Young has started trusting his instincts, and it's paying off. He's finally looking like the player the Panthers thought they were getting when they drafted him first overall in 2023. It's always pretty, but the decisiveness, you cannot deny it. It's there. And that's the first big step being a top-tier quarterback in the league, is having that decisiveness, having that quick reaction, getting the ball out quicker, right? And so that was the biggest thing I took from him in this game. But the pocket presence, again, that was another thing I took away from this game. The little guy can move. And he's doing it damn well. We all knew Bryce Young was small. That's been the narrative since he's got here. We all knew he wasn't built like your typical quarterback, but he has stood out in the recent weeks, and his ability to use the pocket like a magician, it's undeniable. He's staying in that pocket even when blitzes are coming, when he even feels the pressure. Jitters are a thing of the past for him. He's calm, poised, most importantly, aware of everything happening around him. And even when the offensive line wasn't holding up its end of the bargain, like I said, which has been not as it was last year. I mean, we cut the sacks basically down in half compared to last year. Young never gets flustered, though, when he does feel pressure. But that's how that's what you're used to seeing. You're used to seeing this kid fold like a cheap tent. He started to manipulate the pocket better than most of the young quarterbacks in the league, sidestepping rushers, stepping up into open lanes, right? Keeping his eyes downfield was another one. His footwork is the real deal. And if he continues to build on this, the Panthers might have a player who can not only survive, I still think can thrive, right? And the offensive line has, again, done a lot better this year. Another key takeaway from this game for Bryce for me was the tenacity that this kid doesn't back down. You know, you got to think about it this way. Even when things get ugly, like in this game, right? I thought we were just going to roll over, let the Falcons slide into the playoffs. And not really roll over. I mean, I said it. I thought we were going to lose this game 27-21. I thought we were outmatched from their offense to our defense, right? But I was mistaken. Like Bryce Young, but the thing is no, I was right on that part. But I thought our offense, I just didn't know if they could hang. I didn't, because of what we saw in Tampa Bay, I guess is what I'm really getting at. So I felt like we were really outmatched on both sides of the ball. And it wasn't that it was Bryce Young's fault. It's just that the talent is not there. This team has so many holes. And I just didn't think that with how our defense has been, that Bryce and this offense could keep up. But Bryce came to play, and he showed up big time. Like, this could have been a lot worse. Like, if Bryce didn't show up and play this game's 38, 31, 14, 31, 17, maybe at that, right? Like, the Falcons defense is solid, and they were coming hard after him. Pause. Probably not the right words I should be using, but he didn't even blink. His tenacity was full on display. He ran for 2 touchdowns, threw for 3 of them, making defenders miss with ease, showing aggression. We haven't seen this consistently in the past. And hell, he even celebrated that touchdown to Tommy Tremble before it was even confirmed. Did that no look. It was like Steph Curry. So he was showing off some of that swagger, that confidence that's been missing since the early days of his career. The kind of confidence is infectious. It was exactly what we needed in a game that ultimately had no playoff implications for us, right? So again, Bryce Young, the future is now. By the end of the season, if anyone, again, I still think if any of you guys still have doubts out there about Bryce Young being the future of the Carolina Panthers, those doubts should be flushed down the toilet. Young has turned this season around and finished strong. His week 18 performance and this season finale was just another reminder he is growing into the player everyone hoped he would be when we took him number 1 overall. Now, this team in general, it's got a long way to go. They've got holes to fill all over the roster, especially at the skill positions. They'll need a strong offseason to make a push in 2025. With Bryce at the helm, the future is looking like a hell of a lot brighter. I mean, again, this kid's confidence, decision-making, the pocket awareness have grown exponentially. He's no longer just some rookie out here hoping to survive. Like, he's out here there making plays, leading this team. He's showing everyone why he was top pick in that draft. So to say it's been a roller coaster year for Bryce Young, again, would be an understatement. But damn, did he finish strong, man. He might not have the perfect season, but he finished on a high note. That'll have fans buzzing through the offseason with another year under his belt and a little more help around him and the right coach, right? There's no telling how good this kid could be. He's got the potential, I think, to be great, but especially after this performance, it's clear the potential is starting to come to life for this kid, right? Again, he's the guy now. The Panthers need to do their part now going into the offseason. There's no more debating. Bryce Young is the future of the Carolina Panthers. I think after some early struggles and plenty of question marks, he's answered them with grit, determination, and some damn good football, man. Like, he has the makings of a franchise quarterback. And now the Panthers just need to get their act together, build around him, And now the Panthers just need a defense and then put him in a position to succeed. I think you should get another center to add to this offensive line. I think you need to get a right tackle to have behind when Taylor Moton decides to retire. I think you need to get Bryce a true number one wide receiver, but we also need to hammer this defense because it's got more holes than we really recognize, right? If they can do a lot of stuff this offseason, 2025 could be a good year that they finally start like turning that corner. And if they don't, well, they'll have to own up to the fact that they wasted a talent. Like, it's time for the Panthers to stop messing around, and they've got the quarterback, and now they need to make sure they don't screw up, you know? So I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, I want to say this to you guys too. Shout out to all you guys who've shown me love and support. I'm not done making content just because the season finale is over. I'm still going to be live. I'm still going to be making videos, still going to be making shorts. So I'm still going to be here. So I just want to say shout out to you guys for a hell of a 2024-2025 season. Sticking around with me, watching my content, supporting my content. So I just want to give you guys a huge shout out. All right. I want to give you guys a huge shout out. We're going to do a major giveaway coming up. So make sure y'all tune in. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, also become a member today. That also is a big way you can help this channel. Whether you're watching on Twitter or Twitch, make sure you come on over to the YouTube channel. That's the best way you can show me love and support. You can also follow me on all my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. All of those definitely help out a lot as well. So definitely, we're on the road to get 10,000 subscribers this year. We're at 5,688. So let's try to get up to 10,000 before next season starts. I would love that. I also would love to get 10,000 on TikTok. And at that point, the sky is the limit for this channel. And of course, we're going to be working on merch. I'm still working on some merch, guys. I promised you guys that is coming. And it is. It's just taking some time. So appreciate everyone. But let me finish this. I want to break this down real quick for you guys to clearly understand. All right. Here is what so I want to say this. I want to say one thing and one thing only. I want to tell you what I've learned from this team this year. I've learned a lot from this Carolina Panthers team this year. Right? As of right now, if I'm not mistaken, we finished dead last in the NFC South for the second consecutive year. Right? We went 2-15 in last year. Right? Went 5-12 this year. Won 3 more games than we did last year. Everyone hoped that this year would be different. A fresh start with a new head coach, a promising offseason. And we all expected that rise of Bryce Young. And the narrative to me seemed clear. And surely they'll be better. Right? That was the narrative. And they were better, but they really weren't, right? Like, don't mistake this for a doom and gloom take, okay? There's more to this story, and it's not as simple as just calling them another failure. I think that the Panthers weren't just bad again. They didn't make a slight, they didn't make a slight 3-win, they did make a slight 3-win improvement, right, from the dumpster fire they had last year. The thing is, the reality here is a little more complicated than that. They actually were much better in several areas, as we all saw, right? This season provided plenty of tough lessons. And so when we go look at this game, the growth is not linear, especially when we talk about Bryce Young, right? If there is one thing, right, that the Panthers proved this year is that growth doesn't follow a straight line. If you look at Bryce Young, you had that disastrous rookie season. The pressure was on him to prove he was worth the number 1 pick overall. His flashes of brilliance against Green Bay, enough to get anyone's hopes up. And then came the familiar collapse in the final stretch of the games, right? The expectation for a quarterback's second season is that it's supposed to be better than the first. And while that expectation was so far from reality in the beginning, Young was downright awful at times, right? He got benched for 5 games. And people were already talking about how he was going to be a bust. The whispers about his career being over were getting louder. But here is the kicker. His development was far from linear. And that's okay. Because you think about it, as this season went on, we saw flashes of the quarterback who looked worth the top pick in the draft, right? He showed some grit, potential, like I said. He might have didn't blow the doors off the handle every game, but he was these last 8 weeks, or from week 8 to now, he's still the guy you're betting on for the future, and that he can be the cornerstone of this franchise moving forward. Now, the reason why I say that is because coaching matters in this situation, and now we know that Frank Wright was an absolute cancer. He was a disaster. The lesson we learned from this year was that coaching does matter. Frank Wright was an absolute train wreck of a head coach. The guy didn't get out of his own way. Rumor had it that Wright refused to incorporate RPOs into this offense to make life easier for Bryce Young. What the hell kind of coaching is that? It's almost as if he was actively trying to sabotage his own team. And the Panthers' offense under Wright was a disaster. He never seemed to have that coherent plan. And whatever he touched turned to absolute garbage. But then you got Dave Canales. You look at Canales. Canales isn't perfect. He made some questionable decisions this year. Had some head-scratching moments in his management of Bryce Young. But let's be real. After what we had with Wright, Canales was a godsend. He brought a sense of direction, competence to this offense that was sorely lacking before. And it's not perfect yet. But here's the reason to be hopeful. Some of the issues will get cleaned up with time if he keeps developing, right? Canales could be running for coach of the year in a few years. The guy knows what he's doing. He's just got ways to go, right? When we talk about this defense, and this is what I learned. I know I harped on them. The first thing about them being the worst defense in NFL history, which they are now written in the books. But there is a lesson to be learned here, and we learned it the hard way. Defense is everything. Sorry, it's true. The defense is everything in football. If the Panthers had even a decent defense this year, they probably wouldn't have finished dead last in the NFC South. Again, injuries didn't help. Losing Derek Brown, Shaq Thompson was brutal. The defense was a hot mess right from the jump, like I said earlier. Even when they were healthy week 1, it was clear that this unit was a dumpster fire. And here's the cold, hard truth about that. Dan Morgan, the Panthers director of player personnel, GM, needs to get his act together this offseason and scout for defensive talent. They need help. They need it fast. A defense like this is a damn liability. It doesn't matter how good your offense is. If your defense can't stop a nosebleed, you're screwed. The few wins the Panthers had were largely thanks to an unexpected defensive performance. Looking at you, Las Vegas, New Orleans, New York, Atlanta, the defense had a few flashes of life, but the overall picture was bleak. Now, sometimes the wins are just wins. There's one more thing to keep in mind. Sometimes you take the damn wins when you get them, right? And that's in a perfect world where the Panthers would have lost some of those close games. Arizona, New Orleans, New York, for a better draft pick. But you know what? After years of misery, the fan base needed something to hold on to. Those wins didn't help those wins didn't help the long-term vision, but they definitely provided a short-term joy for a city that's been starving for a competitive team. And those wins are a damn relief. Now, this was a season of wild fluctuations. And I'm going to close it out with this. We saw how things quickly can flip going into week 9. The Panthers were all but dead in the water. The failure looked grim, and almost fans were bracing for another long stretch of a rebuild. But by the end of the season, the outlook was a hell of a lot better. The Panthers finished with a busy record, or they finished with a lousy record, sorry. And there was more optimism. There's been in a long time. So yeah, the season ended in disappointment, but there's a glimmer of hope on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to close it out with this. In 2024, the 2024 season wasn't a disaster. It wasn't the breakthrough that many hoped for it either. The Panthers are still a team in progress. Bryce Young is clearly not a finished project, or finished product or project, whichever one you want to call it. But there's potential. The coaching staff has a long way to go. The change from Wright to Canales has showed a way more promise. The defense is still terrible. That's something that needs to be addressed this offseason. We all know that, and I think they will. And fast. The wins, well, we'll take them. But let's be real. This team has a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen, if they ever want to get back to real contention. There's some hope here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a hell of a lot of work to turn this thing around. But let's stay tuned. Continue to tune into the Ropp Star Report. Man, I'm your host, as always, ClayRopp. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Again, do me a favor. 3 things. Make sure you like, subscribe. All right. Before you leave, make sure you click the post notifications bell. That might be the most important thing you could do for free, is click that post notification bell, because it notifies you whenever I'm live. I post up a short, post up a video, post up in the community chat. It will always notify you when whatever I'm doing. So again, appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Appreciate the 2024-2025 season way to close it out with a victory. I appreciate every one of you for liking, subscribing, and continue to show me support throughout this season. And of course, there's more content to come, baby. So make sure you tune in, stick around. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to go eat some dinner with my family. And as always, guys, I'll see y'all later. Keep pounding. Peace.